Good evening, you fantastic and glorious human beings of this floating rock that we call planet Earth. Thank you for joining us at the Off the Wire. I am your host, Noel Lynn, the Cajun Libertarian. Tonight, we have a very special episode with a debate between the phenomenal Jeff Charles. You all know him and love him. If you don't, you should go follow him. And the moderator, Mike Decentralized, also, you should love him and go follow him. Before we get started, real quick, I just need to say a thing because the news cycle has been absolutely crazy today. You see what's going on with the dog strikers. You see what's going on with the Middle East right now. I'm not going to comment in depth on that. What I'm going to say is, first of all, get right with God, get right with Jesus, because here we go. And then buy food, ammo, and purify your water. Find a way to do all these things. Do not rely on any government official or government entity or agency to help you out. Please, please, please. These look like very serious times. And even if it's just a dam breaking, even if just it's a dam breaking in North Carolina, it's obviously evident that you should have a generator, you should have backup power, you should have backup food, you should have backup water, and a means to communication. And we pray in Jesus' name for the lives of those in North Carolina and in the Middle East, all involved. Oh, just what seems like crazy times. And here we are discussing the presidential campaign, which is still rightfully justified. It's just we need more than politicians at this point. So please pray for these people, help them in any way that you see fit and that you want to. So now I'm going to bring on Mike and Jeff, and we're going to get started. What's up, Mike? What's up, Jeff?
All right. How's it going?
Hey, good.
Good to be with you, gentlemen. Of course.
Good to be with you, Mike. What are the rules for the debate?
All right. So what we're going to do, I think we should go ahead and come out with this. We actually prayed ahead of time, right? The three of us. We gave this over to the Lord. So I'm trusting that it'll all go the way it's supposed to. We're going to establish the sort of the sentiment and the 3-point ground rules of civil discourse, because this is going to be an exercise in civil discourse. This isn't just, a debate per se. This is a discourse. And then I will toss a coin, and that'll determine who gets to answer the first question. I'm not going to do opening statements because everybody, we all kind of can figure out who each other is. And if not, we'll do that at the closing. But I'm just going to do a coin toss as to who gets to make the choice as to whether they want to be the first one to answer the first question or be the second person to answer the first question. Whoever loses the coin toss will have the option of deciding whether they want to be the first closing statement or the second closing statement. I'm going to alternate questions so that whoever goes first answers the first question first will answer the second question second, and then back again. And there'll be a total of 6 questions. I think that should be more than enough to iron out the topic that we have tonight and the significance of it. So that's how we'll do this tonight. And I will.
I was still Sorry,
sure,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I still would appreciate that prayer in the public view,
Sure.
praying in Jesus' name over the situation.
Let's
and
do
then
it.
I'm gonna let you
Yes.
take control, and I'm gonna shut
Let's
my
do
mouth
that.
after that.
Let's do that. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, King of the universe, we release this discussion into your hands. We release this discourse into your hands, knowing that you are the liberator of liberators and that you have called us, each one in this discussion, moderator and 2 participants in civil discourse, are committed to seeing the captive set free. Even as your calling was fulfilled, you also expect us as your servants to carry on your calling and to deliver the captives into liberty, and to also to make disciples of all nations. The 2 go hand in hand. So Father, let this discussion, let this civil discourse glorify your name and establish our callings and the way that you want us to fulfill them right now in this discussion. Be glorified in it, and set the captives free, Lord Jesus, in your glorious name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So let's sort of just to kind of deliver the sentiment of civil discourse just up front, as well as kind of the premise behind it. The idea is, um, in a nutshell, and this is kind of an interesting thing for libertarians to accept, but in the case of civil discourse, really the theme is that you leave your guns at the saloon door. Um, which sounds sort of contrary to libertarian instinct, because you probably want to conceal carry as you walk into the saloon, right? But for the sake of civil discourse, we leave our guns at the saloon door, and what that means is we're going to deliberately try to break the outrage amplification algorithm, which is common to social media, common to social media exchanges. And I believe very strongly, and I think you gentlemen do too, that there is a strong correlation between that um, outrage amplification algorithm that we find in social media and the divide and conquer strategy that goes back to the original global dystopia of ancient Rome and worked beautifully for the dystopians of ancient Rome, and is working beautifully for the dystopians of today. So I have a very specific agenda in trying to break that algorithm. And by the grace of God and the blood of Jesus Christ, I believe we're going to do that. Hallelujah. And I believe this is going to be a case study in how civil discourse can turn the tide and break that algorithm and break the spirit, if you will, of divide and conquer. So with that in mind, the premises of civil discourse are just, the first one is to assume that the other party is acting in good faith, unless proven otherwise through rational discourse. And even then, we let the fruit of that tree fall to the ground first, let it speak for itself. And then also the idea that we may have and keep different particulars, but our principles are the same. So it's true that our particulars can differ, and I mean that in the Aristotelian sense, right? That we may have different particulars, different ways in which we approach our principles, and that sometimes those will differ, but the principles are more foundational, and those are ultimately what matters, and what unifies us in the Ben Franklin sense of, better hang together, or else we'll hang separately. But the last
Very good.
sort of the last premise of civil discourse that I think is important to this discussion is that any sort of extraneous emotional implications or political baggage that kind of accompanies this discussion, also, like the guns, are left at the saloon door. Let's just shed that for the purposes of this discussion. I feel like I can do that. I mean, I have strong opinions like anybody else on this topic, but
Right.
I'm absolutely going to leave my emotional baggage, my sense of political baggage at the saloon door while we have this discussion. And we're just going to discuss things, based on face value, with the assumption that we're all operating as good actors rather than bad actors. So after that spiel,
Amen.
and that's setting the standard of what I hope to be an exercise in civil discourse. Lord Jesus, I'm trusting you for that. Let me flip a coin that will determine who gets to choose the first to answer the question first or second. That in turn determines who answers. Like it'll alternate. So, for example, whoever wins the coin toss gets to decide whether they answer the first question first or answer it second. But then we alternate back. So the second question is asked to the person who didn't answer it first the first time. If you can follow what I'm saying, we're going to alternate back and forth. There's a total of 6 questions. And also, whoever loses the coin toss gets to decide whether they are to deliver the closing statement first, or whether they could deliver the closing statement second. And I'll ask that of whoever wins or loses the coin toss. All I need to know is who wants heads and who wants tails at this point.
That's up to Jeff, because he's unfortunately, I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't know how else to do this outside of my own freaking channel. But we got it together. So since unfortunately Jeff is the visiting team, I will leave it up to him, so to speak. Sure. That's his choice to make. However, before we get started, y'all, please like and share, and then subscribe on everybody's platforms,
Please.
all over the place,
Yes.
because we're already closing in on 150 live congruent viewers. So this is going to be
Nice.
important. Obviously, people are interested in genuine content and genuine conversation. So I'll leave the coin toss up to Jeff. Just please like and share, y'all.
Jeff, heads or
All right, I'll
tails?
choose
Did you
heads.
say heads? It is. All right. So let's see what we got here.
That's what I would have chose.
Is that right? Da-da-da-da. I am afraid we got tails, though.
Oh,
But so that means Noel, you get to decide whether or not you want to answer the first question first, or answer the first question second, and then Jeff, that means you get to decide whether you want to make the first closing statement or the second closing statement.
Okay, are we deciding that right
defer-
now or?
Yeah.
I defer
Okay,
to
yeah,
Jeff.
I'll give my closing statement last.
Okay, that's good. And then Jeff, do you want to answer the first question first, or do you want to answer the first question second? So you want to have Jeff answer it, or do you want you to answer it first?
I'll answer it second, I guess.
Okay. All right. So Jeff, is that okay with you? You want to answer it first? First question first. Oh shoot, is he frozen?
Wait, can you hear me?
No, you were.
Oh no,
Yeah,
is there a delay?
no, you were referring to Jeff.
Oh shoot. Okay, sorry. No, because you won the coin toss. Do you want to answer the
Oh, I
first
was like,
question?
wait a minute.
Yeah. You know. Okay. So Noel, did you want to answer the first question first? Did I mess up on your names? I apologize. Noel, did you answer
you
your
Yeah.
the first question first, or do you want to answer the first question after Jeff?
Right. So it is Noel like Christmas. No, you're good though. I'll answer the first question first, I guess, since Jeff is having his closing statement.
Okay, he's doing the closing statement last, the last closing statement. Okay, gotcha. All right, so the first question, and every question is going to have a 2-minute answer, and what happens is obviously the same question. Okay, so there's 6 questions. Everybody's going to get a chance to answer that question. It doesn't matter who goes first. So essentially, you're going to answer one. You're going to answer it first. Then Jeff will get his chance to answer that same question. Each answer is meant to be restricted to 2 minutes. I'll get my timer ready, and then there's a 1-minute rebuttal to that answer on the other party's part, and then there is a 1-minute response to that rebuttal on the original question answerer's part, if that makes sense. I'm going to do my best to kind of keep you guys on track. In fact, I better get up my my timer ready. Now that I think about it, let's see, it's all this modern tech got 55% charge. Oh, we should be good. Let's see, where's my stopwatch? That's what I need. All right, so in that case, and by the way, it's Noel, right? So I might
Yeah, just like Christmas.
just like Christmas. All right. Okay, so Noel. First question then. Got 2 minutes to answer. How did Chase Oliver gain or lose your support as a libertarian? For you as a Libertarian Party voter?
All right. Well, let me say it like this. Number one, he never had my support in the first place because I knew who he was before this ever even kicked off. I knew Chase Oliver before he even tried to claim that he, quote unquote, forced a runoff in the Georgia Senate election, which is not true. That's fundamentally false. The Georgia runoff election with Herschel Walker and the other guy, Raphael Warnock, was some of the lowest voter turnout in Georgia Senate race history. Chase did nothing in regards to that. That was just an anomaly, and he's trying to run off the back of that. So there was never any support on my end for Chase Oliver from the jump because I knew exactly who he was before even the Georgia Senate race because I had people. I was in the privileged perspective of being in a bird's eye view with a Facebook page that is now permanently nuked thanks to Meta. That had 40,000, almost 40,000 followers. And I had people sending me stuff, and I could see how toxic and what a horrible human being he was from well before the Georgia Senate runoff. So then he's trying to piggyback off this quote unquote popularity that he thinks he's gained off of that Georgia Senate runoff, which is absolutely fabricated, absolutely fake. He's a terrible human being. He's 100% not genuine in anything that he says. And you can see it in every single response is just milk toast, chalant garbage that anybody could repeat. It's just your typical, and it has nothing to do with Chase. Okay, we're just so sick of this. It's just your typical politician's response to every single scenario whatsoever. There's zero passion, there's zero color, there's zero love. It's just another replicate who is cosplaying as a libertarian, independent slash fierce, anti-establishment person. This guy is not anti-establishment. He's been a part of the establishment the entire time.
Okay, so we just hit just over 2 minutes, but that's fine. I captured your sentiment as to he never had your support. So I'd like to give Jeff a chance to do a 1 minute response to your answer to that question.
Well, I mean, I guess there's not really much to respond to, Noel, because he didn't really give a whole lot of specifics. I mean, some of this sounds, and I could be wrong, but it sounds kind of personal. I don't know if there's some personal stuff that went down between you and him, or maybe people that between you guys, or I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, you might be right, you might be wrong. I don't know. But to me, I mean, I don't know who he was back then. I didn't know him back then. As far as where he stands, I believe that he means what he says. As far as color, I mean, I understand what you're talking about, because I mean, we've got Trump on the scene, right? So I think I know where you're coming from with that. And, I don't necessarily need everybody to be Trump. There are things that I like about his manner. There are things that I don't like necessarily. But as far as policy goes, and as far as the focus on liberty, that's what I like about Chase Oliver. I mean, we had conversations with him late 2022 and then into 2023. And, I feel like, I don't know all the details of the Georgia runoff. I honestly don't care, because it's not really germane to this discussion. What we should be focusing on is the policy and advancing liberty. And I think that he can do it. And I think that I'm not under the illusion that he's going to be Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. But at the same time, I do believe that he has the policies right, and he can evangelize the message in an accurate way that relates to people. I mean, I've been seeing him traveling all across the United States. He's been to all 50 states.
Well, we got to. That's a great response, but we're actually going to get into all the stuff you just touched on. So I have a double agenda in cutting you off, not to be rude, but we actually have questions to that effect coming along later. So this is going to be I can already tell this is going to be a great discussion. But Noel, I'd like you to give your 1 minute response to Jeff's evaluation of your answer to the question.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's nothing personal with Chase whatsoever. We have never interacted in any personal manner whatsoever. It's just it's reality based on experience via past, and then seeing someone grift. Right, you couldn't cut it as a Democrat, so now you're trying to grift as a libertarian. This guy's never had a job in his life. He was raised as an immature, very rich, privileged kid who has done nothing but activize in his entire life. So he's just a grifter, in my opinion. It's nothing personal at all.
All right, so that's a good. Less than a minute, so we're actually on track. So we kind of went a little bit over, but now I got to ask Jeff Charles, same question: how did Chase Oliver gain or lose your support for you as a Libertarian Party voter?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I just talked about. I mean, when I first started getting into the liberty movement, I mean, I've had libertarian values for years, but I was under the mistaken impression that maybe we could reform the GOP, the Republican Party, and I gave it a shot, and then I decided that was crap. That ain't gonna work. I mean, there may be some individual Republicans that might be worth working with, but whatever. That party is what it is, and it's not going to change. And really, even with presidential politics, I've kind of pulled away from really paying that much attention on it. I mean, I'm a political commentator, I'm a journalist, so I have to focus on it for my job. But my main priority is focusing local. So I just want to kind of set that up. But when I first met Chase, it was when Donnie and I started doing a Liberty Spaces on Twitter. And he came on a few times. And honestly, I mean, a lot of the causes that Donnie and I have cared about, he was one of the few candidates that reached out and actually wanted to help boost the stuff that we were doing. Even later on with Dexter Taylor's case, which may come up later in this conversation, but just for people who aren't familiar, look that up, Dexter Taylor. I mean, Chase Oliver was willing to help magnify that. And he was really probably the most accessible candidate. And this isn't a knock to the other candidates, because we had conversations with some of the others as well. But Chase was one of the ones that really reached out. We had a lot of the conversations about stuff that I'm sure is going to come up in this debate. But I feel like, having interacted with him and having seen his platform, there's not a whole lot that I disagree with. And I do have disagreements with Chase Oliver. Again, we'll be getting into that. At the same time, he gets pretty much everything else right. I mean, I hear people calling him like a Democrat, a progressive Democrat. That makes absolutely no sense if you look at his platform. I mean, I'm sorry, there's no progressive Democrat that's going to want to do a lot of the things that he would do as president if he were to be elected. So to me, I feel like he understands the concept of liberty. I believe he means what he says. I have no reason to think that he just switched it up just because he wanted to be a libertarian. Here's the thing: if you want to grift, you don't go to the liberty movement. I mean, it's not very lucrative. You go to the Republicans or you go to the Democrats. I mean, that's just how it works.
It is.
So
Hold on. Yeah. So first of all, actually, I think that's a fantastic answer to the question, and I do think it's we can do the 1 minute response for Noel, because I think there's some things you probably want to unpack about that, Noel.
1 second, sorry, I'm having them. Okay, so it completely agree on Dexter Taylor. That is a phenomenal case that absolutely has to be addressed. That man did nothing wrong. Absolutely. But if you're looking for actual efficacy on where we can move that case forward, I would not ever refer to the irrelevant Chase Oliver that 70% of the country doesn't know. Nobody knows who this guy is. He's completely irrelevant. You should actually go to Spike Cohen and youarethepower.com. You can do that right now. And then you can fight that case on Dexter Taylor, which is absolutely relevant and absolutely should be taken up by every pro-human rights person ever, because it is disgusting. Now, to claim that Chase is not moving over to the LP because he's not a grifter, because there's no money in it, while the dude backdoor stole the I don't want to say stole, but through shady situations, guy obtained the LP nomination, has no job, and is completely utilizing all monetary advantages to being the LP nominee, is just wild to me. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, there's no money in moving over to the liberty. Well, yeah, there is. If you're going to grift and be a phony, and then get the LP nominee with tons of donations. What?
That's okay. So two things. First of all, thank you for the 1 minute. I got to stop you, but I wanted to throw something else out there just because this is poignant to the conversation. There has, I'd say, like it or not, the Libertarian Party has been a home to Republicans who couldn't make it, I think, is a fair assessment, right? And I'm not trying to interject too much. I'm only supposed to moderate. But in 2008, there's this guy named Bob Barr that got the nomination to run for the Libertarian Party ticket. And I'm sorry, but the difference between Bob Barr as a Republican and Bob Barr as a Libertarian was almost none. I mean, effectively none. Right? I mean, it was less than Bill Weld. All right. So I think that for whatever reason, whether it's certainly maybe not for money and resources, but it's maybe for low-lying fruit, like less opposition, because it's simply not the well-oiled machine if you want to get some kind of notoriety and attention. So I think there's something to be said about that component, even if it's not monetary. Again, as to whether one can call it grifting, I mean, that's not for me to do. I don't want to intervene in the discussion on that, but I am going to raise that point because I think it's relevant. And then I also want to, to that matter, also give Jeff your 1 minute response to Noel's statement regarding your answer to that question.
Well, I mean, honestly, it just kind of resembles what I see a lot on social media. If you don't like what somebody's saying, that means they're a grifter. Everybody I don't like is a grifter, and that's what it sounded like. I mean, again, there's really Noel, you have not really provided any evidence that he's a grifter. Maybe you'll do that later in this conversation. I'd love to hear it, but you haven't really given evidence that he is only in the liberty movement just so that he can grift off it. I wouldn't imagine you can make a lot of money doing that. Like, I don't think that he's going to be driving a Rolls Royce after this campaign is over because he became a libertarian. And you brought up Bill Barr, Mike. And my thing is, were the policies still Republican when he was running as a libertarian? I mean, I don't know that much about him. When I look at
kind of, I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, he really wasn't like he basically was like, okay, well, maybe I can see decriminalizing cannabis at some point. Maybe I can see pulling some military bases, away from, like, maybe I'll be a little bit not quite so neocon. That was like, I bring him up because that was the other time in history since I've been able to vote that I did not vote for the Libertarian. I didn't remove myself. I didn't, go crying and I say, oh, I'm going to leave Libertarian Party. I just didn't vote for the candidate that year. That's all, because I didn't think, right? Because of principles. That's all. He didn't strike me as libertarian enough. Honestly, that's what it was.
It doesn't sound like he was libertarian at all, based on what you just
said.
Really.
Not really.
And that's why I asked that question. If you look at Chase Oliver's platform, you don't see like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do the extreme end of Obamacare, but maybe some of it is okay. No, he doesn't want any Obamacare. He doesn't want the government involved in the healthcare industry. He wants to abolish the Department of Education. What Democrat wants to do that? I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, if it was somebody like this Barr guy that you're talking about, I can understand thinking that he was doing some grifting. With Chase, I'm just not seeing it. I mean, unless there's some evidence here that I have not yet heard, then I have no reason to believe that he's a grifter. I know we throw that word around a lot, but in cases like these, we should probably back that up with something.
Well, that's the thing. That?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll give you. It's okay though. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I want to get to the next question.
Okay, so you say there's no evidence. Oh, sorry. You say there's no evidence of grifting. Bro, I provided evidence of grifting, and I'm the one that's producing this show right now. So for me to produce and display tweets and actual evidence would be malfeasance in this certain scenario, because you don't have the ability to produce your own screenshots. I can produce tweet after tweet after tweet proving exactly what I'm saying to be true, but I'm not going to do that because I'm the one potentially in control of this scenario. So what I'll say is I'll attack this argument. You're like, oh, he's not grifting because he doesn't have a Rolls Royce. Are you kidding me? The guy doesn't have a freaking job. He doesn't work for a living. His entire existence relies on activism. So yes, that is proof and evidence of grifting. He couldn't cut it as a Democrat, so he grifted to the Libertarian Party, and he has absolutely zero, none colorful personality, no passion. It's so clear that this guy is a fake that he cannot even produce an ounce of charisma, despite Trump being any sort of relevancy in media, because we see what that has led to. Absolute destruction.
I know. I give you actually another full minute. So what I want to do is this. First of all, the idea that Chase is maybe doing a Bernie Sanders, I suppose, who never worked a day in his life either, right? And is looking for a way to kind of like sustain himself. I think you're making a point there that is worth considering, right? Like what does this guy hope to do after after this election? After what is his whole means of self-sustaining? And I guess there's some reasonable concern there. But I want to get on to the next question, because I'm not thinking that I'm still thinking this is a matter of perspective. It's a subjective thing. Like you're reading into it something that could or could not be pretty sinister, right?
Sure.
But there's also the possibility that he's just a rich kid who wants to make a difference. That there's other ways to spin it. Or he could just be walking down the same road, or trying to pull off a Bernie Sanders of some kind or another, which, to Jeff's point, I'm not sure the Libertarian Party is the way to do that, but who knows? I mean, it could be. But I think the next question is going to be kind of important, because you're touching on this, Noel, and that's why I'm kind of glad we're going to be able to segue. Next question, and this is for Jeff to answer first, I think, right? Oh, wait, that's what we did, yeah. Jeff, Jeff, you're answering this one first. is Chase Oliver an effective messenger for liberty? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think he is. And the main reason why I think that is because he shows up. He goes to places. He doesn't just keep his existence online. And that's a lot of the mistake that a lot of people, not just in the liberty movement, but really even on the
Oh,
right. I mean, we think that
yeah.
just staying online is going to reach people. I'm not knocking that. I have an online platform. We're having a conversation on an online platform. But if you are a politician, if you're running for an office, the way you really get that message out is by one person at a time, face to face. He's been to all 50 states. There was no other libertarian presidential candidate who has done that. He shows up, he talks to people, he has conversations. We saw him in Texas at the Libertarian Party's I can't remember, it was some party or some whatever. It was an event. And he was there. He spent a lot of that time propping up people who were running for office at the state and local levels. He's done that in every single state. See, being a messenger for liberty isn't just, giving nice speeches online or owning the libs or owning people online. That's all good. I love all of that. But you also have to show up, meet people where they're at, talk to people face to face, and explain the concepts of liberty. I have nothing but respect for whether they're Mises, classical liberal, or anything in between, the people who show up on the ground and they're out there getting in people's faces, shaking hands, having conversations. Chase always tells a story about that. That's what brought him into the movement. That's what brought a lot of other people into the movement. So to me, an effective messenger does things online. They have that online presence, but they also show up on the ground. And he's done it more than a lot of other. He's done it way more than most of the people attacking him right now.
Okay, so Noel, if you wouldn't mind, your 1 minute response to Jeff's answer.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's absolutely stupid. If I'm being completely honest, I got total respect for you, bro. But come on, man. He's campaigning. He's a politician campaigning for office. Of course, he's going to show up. That doesn't speak to his personality, his genuineness, his integrity whatsoever. Yes, if I'm campaigning for an office, then I'm going to show up to political events. What? I don't even. Okay.
Do I leave that as your response?
yeah. I just
Okay.
it's
All right, that's
completely
fair.
goofy to me. Of course, he's going to show up.
You want to leave that? You should probably, back that up a little bit, because that was not a very good answer. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, he's a politician. You show up. Okay, why didn't the other candidates do that? And again, I'm not trying to knock the other candidates, but they did not show up the way that Chase Oliver did. They were not the way Chase Oliver was.
You want the other major candidates that are household names to show up to the tiny political events of the insignificant Libertarian Party. That's what you're asking for? Like, man, if that's what you're asking for, then you're promoting the LNC and Angela McArdle, who's done, in my opinion, a really good job of making us relevant in national news. Then you should be all on board with the fact that Donald Trump came to the Libertarian Party National Convention. Yes or no?
Well, now, wait a minute. Let's first of all, I understand where you're going, Noel, but the thing of it is, I want to clarify. This is a point of clarification.
Right.
Jeff, you were talking about the other libertarian candidates. Is that what you're referring? Like Chase versus the other libertarian candidates, right?
I was talking about
not so much RFK Jr., Donald Trump, and Kamala or Joe, whatever he is.
So nobody that actually matters,
right?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, he's comparing it to the other libertarian candidates who elected not to put in as much appearances. I guess, right? Is that safe to say, Jeff?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. I mean, of course, Trump is going to show up at the Libertarian National Convention. He was invited. What? He would be stupid not to. It was a very smart move on his part. But what I was referring to are the other libertarian presidential candidates. We're talking about spreading the message of liberty, Chase being a messenger of liberty. He did what he was supposed to do, and he did it more so than the other libertarian candidates. So yeah, if we're talking about representing the Libertarian Party and the Liberty Movement, that's what you should be doing, especially if you're running for an office.
Now, you guys got to refresh my memory. Did I have you answer this question yet, Noel? I don't think I did I?
Not yet.
I'm not sure, man. I'm
No. Okay. Well,
kinda just,
you got your
which
opportunity
question?
to kind of chime in. The question was, and I think it's a perfect segue to do this. Let's go to you answering this question. Is Chase Oliver an effective messenger for liberty? Why or why not? And let's emphasize in your
Oh,
case the why not.
so right. No, I did not get an opportunity. Yeah, thank you. I forgot all about the question. No, he's terrible. He's absolutely horrible. Under no circumstances is he a good messenger for liberty. If we can get into I hope you have these questions, but look, you don't get to trans the kids, you don't get to be pro-abortion, you don't get to be pro-open borders and be an effective messenger for liberty. None of these things are congruent or even absolutely unequivocally applicable to the liberty movement, all of which he endorses. And we can talk about the nuance of these subjects, but it doesn't really matter because effectively this guy is who he is, and he changed those positions specifically because he is a politician running a campaign. He's a horrible human being, and he disgusts me on every level because of that. And
All
it's
right.
not because of him personally, it's because of those things that he's done. And at the end of the day, I'm not voting for a freaking cop, Officer Mike
Well,
Termat.
yeah,
Sorry.
there's that too, right? But that's a different. Yeah, we'll talk about the vice president some other time. But that's a here's the thing I have for you. I think Jeff, you should probably respond with your one minute to his answer to that question. But I just want to ask a sort of point of clarification. Noel, you're basically saying that you just don't see integrity in terms of what you've observed from Chase. That you believe he's changed positions, and from maybe what he was at one time to what he is now, running as a Libertarian Party presidential candidate. And I think that bears further exploration apart from this discussion. And what I'm going to encourage you, I meant to do this earlier, but what I'm going to encourage you to do is, on your X profile, it wouldn't hurt to, especially underneath this, this latest posting for this discussion, kind of post your concerns. Like post like this is where I think Chase lacks integrity. This is where I think this doesn't add up. He changed this. He changed this. He changed this. And because I've no doubt you've done the research. So, but nonetheless, I want to give Jeff the opportunity to respond to your answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I never really understood the whole he used to have these positions, therefore that's who he is today. I think, Noel, you and I both have had some opinions in the past that we definitely do not hold today. Now, I would be with you if he had changed these positions like 5 minutes ago. Like RFK Jr. changed a lot of his positions 5 minutes ago for his campaign. Kamala Harris, same thing. She had
Right.
radical opinions in 2019, and now all of a sudden she's floating to the center. Nobody believes that that's real. But these positions that Chase had, he had when he was a Democrat under Obama. It was a long time ago. I had bad positions there too. So that's kind of a silly argument. Oh, he had some bad opinions, so that means that he still has them and he just changed them. No, there's no proof, no evidence that he still believes the things that he believed in the past today. And because the thing is, he's not even proposing any of those policies. I mean, I don't know if you've even read his platform. I know you haven't even had a conversation with him. So it's interesting that you can make these sweeping judgments about somebody who you haven't even had a conversation with. I doubt you've even read his platform. So you don't even know what policies he supports. I know we're going to get into the ones that you and I actually probably disagree with them both on this, but still, like, it doesn't really hold water. It goes back to what I was saying about the grifter term. We just throw that around for people that we don't like, and 9 times out of 10, it doesn't mean a damn thing.
So, what 1 minute to respond to that statement, Mr. Noel?
Sure. Number one, yes. Again, I'm not going to pull up the tweets. You can look them up. But as a libertarian, quote unquote libertarian, Chase Oliver did reject Ron Paul at all costs. There's a tweet for that. You can find it. I can pull it up right now, but that's not fair because I'm the
So
producer of this content.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Number
we all
two,
agree that he said that.
haven't
Yeah.
already said what?
No, we acknowledge that.
No,
Yeah.
no, we agree that Chase Oliver said what he said about Ron Paul, although he did say something different later
While
on. But
claiming to be a libertarian. Yeah. Okay. And then I haven't had a convo with Chase Oliver. I know all of Chase Oliver's positions because yes, I have read them because I knew them before any of the vast majority of people ever knew who Chase Oliver was. Also, uh, haven't had a conversation with Chase. No, because he doesn't want to. I gleefully right now invite you, Chase, to come on this show. Now, I've had 2 debates with pro fans of Chase Oliver. Both are extremely intelligent. Both have extreme intelligence and integrity. Jeff Charles, right now, as we speak, and also Idaho Joe. Now,
Sure.
if you want me to have the conversation with Chase Oliver, then tell Chase Oliver to come on the show and we can have the conversation. I don't gain anything from having a conversation with Chase. I don't gain anything from this conversation here. This is solely about what we can do as a body
Okay.
of liberty to
that.
advance the freedom of all people. And I just wholly reject Chase Oliver as that option. There's no way.
I got you. Well, let's go to the next question then. I think we kind of did a pretty good job on that one overall. Not that we're all establishing reasonable positions. That's really all I was hoping for. But now the question starts with Noel and is Mike. I think this is all pertinent. We're all kind of covering the ground here, but let's formally put this in the form of a question: is Chase
Okay.
Oliver running a strong campaign for president? Why or why not?
And that's I got to answer that first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Obviously not. He is by every metric. And if you're a serious person, you will know this. By every metric, he's running the worst Libertarian Party POTUS campaign ever. And no, it's not because of funding due to the national party. No, it's because he's just a terrible messenger. And I refer back to what I said before. You can actually exclude all of Chase's policies. It's the milquetoast lack of any passion and aggression and policy whatsoever on his part that makes him a terrible messenger. Bill Weld, Joe Jorgensen, all of them included, because they're all running political campaigns because they're not actually engaged in liberty because they don't care. They're all just freaking robots that are doing a thing for money so they don't have to get a job. That's it. That's why he has no passion. He has no personality, and neither has like the however many previous candidates before him. He's just another robot NPC that's grifting for money. No, he's not going to get a Lamborghini, but he doesn't have to have a real job.
All right, so that's a no. He's not doing a good job at not running a strong campaign
Obviously.
for president.
Terrible.
So I would like to give Jeff now an opportunity to respond to Noel's answer to that question for a minute, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, first up, with the whole job thing, I mean, I know Chase Oliver had a career. He worked in a restaurant. He worked in sales later. I was also in sales back in the day. So, yeah, he has worked real jobs. I mean, maybe you don't define those as real jobs, but whatever, they're jobs. He has been a worker, just like most of us in this debate and people watching it have been as well. As far as his campaign, I think he's running about the best that he can do right now. The notion that not getting funding from the LNC, which he should be, but they're too busy shoveling it to RFK and Trump. Yeah, of course that affects his campaign. Are you crazy? If you don't have enough money to campaign, then that affects your ability to campaign. I'm sure we would all agree there's way too much money in politics right now. And the harsh reality is that to run a successful campaign, you got to have a lot of money. So I think he's doing the best he can with what he has. But I won't even use all my time. I'm going to finish with this. A question to you, Noel. What should he be doing as a candidate to run what you would consider to be a strong campaign? And no, don't say drop out. I'm saying if you were doing what you wanted as far as campaigning, for you to be able to say, yeah, that's a strong campaign, what should he be doing?
if you don't mind using your 1 minute to respond to Jeff's response, that's an interesting question. But Jeff, can I add the nuance that let's assume that he was a candidate that Noel supported? Is that a fair thing to like? What would a candidate that Noel
I mean,
supports?
whether he supported him or not.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, even if there's a candidate. Well, no, because even if there's a candidate you don't like, you can still say they're running a strong campaign, right? I mean, I think Trump and Kamala Harris are running strong campaigns. I can't stand them, but yeah, right. just what should he be doing if for Noel to say, you know what, he's running a pretty strong campaign?
Okay, can I answer that?
Yeah, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I already did actually. Have a freaking personality. I already said that. He is a milquetoast nothing burger that has no actual passion or any sort of care. If it did, it would show. Every single post of his is the middle of the road nonsense. Every video lacks zero passion whatsoever. The guy is just a joke. I mean, you asked me, Jeff, what could convince me as this guy's running a real campaign? So let's define real first. But for me, because you're asking me what a real campaign is not being a freaking milquetoast nonsense garbage candidate that only spews the most basic of libertarianism on only a fraction of his content. The vast majority of it is just anti-Trump and pro-government nonsense, even if he doesn't actually say that he supports mandates. The guy wore an LGBTQA cult mafia mask in front of Pfizer during the middle of he advanced everything that the government said you should do. He said do that. This guy is just irrelevant on every level, and not just irrelevant, he's disgusting, because under no circumstances should you as a potential politician be advocating for the government's response to COVID just blindly.
All right, so I think that provides all the answers for that. Now, Jeff, did I get a chance? I didn't ask you this question about running a strong campaign for president, but you kind of answered it already. I still want to get.
Yeah, you did. You asked me.
Yeah. Oh, I did. Okay, good. All right, good. Yeah. Thank you for helping me stay on track here.
It's tough.
It is tough. All right, so let's get on to question 4, and this would then go back to Noel, right?
I have no idea.
No, actually, no. It just goes to Jeff. That's where I'm thinking. It goes to you, Jeff.
I think I'm first. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is Chase Oliver conscientious of the down ticket? Yes or no?
Okay, just to make sure I understand the question, are you talking about promoting candidates running down ballot?
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I talked about this earlier in the debate. I mean, I've seen him do it in person in Texas. I mean, he came to that event, he spoke, I mean, and he was very passionate about what he was saying, but he took the time to highlight 2 other candidates who were running for state, and I believe another was running for local office. He actually convinced the audience to give them donations. He said, let's raise money for these 2 candidates. He was very serious about that. That's one of the things that kind of sold me on him, because I am very much focused on local and state level, like I said before, way more than the presidency. And I think Noel would agree with me that we need to be focusing local, like crazy. We need to be focusing on building up our own communities. And the thing is, I've seen him do it in person. So the notion that he doesn't, it's kind of silly. I've also seen him do it in other states as well. I've seen it online. I've seen people talk about it. He is very good about boosting local and state level candidates, because he understands that that's where we need to be going as a movement.
Got it. Okay, so 1 minute response to Jeff's answer, Noel.
Hey, yeah, thank you. Real quick, in regards to, yes, I absolutely agree with Jeff on the local movement. In saying that, do you guys mind if I plug a local libertarian liberty movement activist that
Please,
we can all help and support?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to throw that up there. Who
Oh,
touched
yeah,
the
yeah.
thermostat? WhoTouchIt.com is a rabid supporter of all of us right now. So please go check this out. WhoTouchIt.com. WhoTouchIt.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Who Touched the Thermostat. Okay. Now, before I move myself back, you're asking what or if I agree or disagree with
Well, yeah, just
the way. Go ahead.
you have 1 minute. You got 1 minute to respond to Jeff's answer about the question of is Chase Oliver conscientious of the down ticket, or is he supporting
Right.
the down?
Right. Absolutely, 100% agree. Yeah, and it's probably one of the best outside of his economic policies because economically he's going to be just head and shoulders above the other two candidates. This is not in question, and that part is absolutely a relevant part of his platform. I don't particularly know how genuine he is on that. I tend to lean towards he's not genuine on it, and he's just using it primarily as a way to promote his own platform. But yes, I do, and I'm probably wrong on that, or I may be wrong. I don't know. I do think that he's 100% accurate, and Jeff is as well on Chase promoting the down ticket because that's vastly more important on the local level to be able to control our government. And it's not even close. Like the presidential ticket, the federal campaigns are just almost smoke and mirrors, just theater. And so what we do to promote the local level, like your local sheriff, your state attorney general, your school boards are so much more vastly more important than any federal campaign. Yes, I do think that's a good thing.
Yeah. So this is an interesting. I should call attention to this. And Jeff, I'll give you another minute to respond uh, to Noel's evaluation of your answer. But it seems like we found a point of agreement that Mr. Chase Oliver is doing a fair to excellent job somewhere in there of representing the
Yeah.
down ticket. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. So we found a point of agreement. That's worth highlighting. But Jeff, any you got 1 minute to respond to Noel's comments, and we'll see what we go after there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reiterate. I mean, and I knew that Noel and I would agree on this. I mean, a lot
Yes.
of people in the liberty movement do, because it's that important. I mean, the federal government, even if Chase got elected, he wouldn't be able to do all the stuff he wants to do. I mean, just you've
Right.
got the deep state, you've got Republicans and Democrats, you got the uniparty that would prevent him from doing a lot of the things that he would want to do because the federal government is hopelessly, irredeemably corrupt at this point. There is no bringing it back. At least unless it somehow collapses or unless we shore up enough liberty at the local and state level,
Yes.
Yeah.
that thing's gone. So that's why I don't really pay as much attention. If you're not focusing on
Yeah.
your local elections, your local politics, township liberation. There was a very wise man who talks about township liberation. That's what we need to be
You guys
doing
are
because
preaching to the choir here. Yes.
yeah, we need people
Yes.
in office who will say hell no when the state and federal government wants to infringe on our rights. So I'm glad that we agree on that because that's where we need to be going.
100%. So on that note, I think then Noel, you get the next question to answer it. First chance of answering here. Could you describe the ideal libertarian presidential candidate
Yes.
for president?
Ron Paul. Ron Paul.
Okay. The ideal candidate for Libertarian Party president is Ron Paul, and so I know.
Yes.
Are you okay? So pure and simple. That's just who needs. That's the high
Well,
bar.
in all honesty, obviously it's Ron Paul, but he's, what, almost 90 years old. So
Right.
we don't have that now. And I think Rand Paul is more of his son. It is a great attribute to Congress. We don't have a Ron Paul running for president. If it were, if I were to pick, then I would choose Dave Smith or Spike Cohen.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Primarily
So
Spike.
what's the next closest thing as an example? Then would be you're thinking Spike Cohen or a Dave Smith. I'm going to
Yes.
throw out Larry. I'm going to throw out Larry Sharp just because
I
I know that.
I, I, I did
Yeah,
for a long time. Larry Sharp and I are friends. I respect him to a great deal, but there's been some um, things that have come to fruition here lately where I think that Larry Sharp is actually disqualified for that, but I'd still vote for him for governor of New York.
I got you. Okay, but let's say that we have people that are close in that mold, but obviously that's the high bar for you. Is that correct, Ron Paul?
Yeah, Ron Paul is a high bar. Yeah.
All right, got you. That's perfectly good answer. Let's get your 1 minute comment to that answer. Jeff, you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would think of a specific person, but I would think that it would have to be somebody who actually believes what they say about liberty, who understands what libertarian policy would look like, knows how to articulate it in a way that makes sense to regular folks, somebody who's going to show up. I mean, if it wasn't somebody like a Chase Oliver, then I could easily get behind Spike Cohen. Easily. It wouldn't even be
Right,
tough. But I also
right.
kind of want to speak to Noel's point about
Yes.
charisma. I do think that Chase Oliver has charisma, but I think I understand where Noel's coming from because he's looking for a certain type of charisma, and it's not really wrong. I mean, Noel probably would like somebody who's more like a Trump, more of an edgier type of figure, somebody who's gonna wreck some shit up, and I have no problem with that too. I'm cool with that as well because I mean, in a sense, we kind of need a little bit more of that. Maybe not the more toxic elements of it as far as Trump goes, but I think it would be somebody who can really take on the uniparty in a way that exposes what they're up to. And I would like to see somebody be also a little bit more of an attack dog in that respect. So yeah, I kind of understand where that's coming from, but I would say I think Chase still does do a good job of articulating liberty principles and breaking them down in a way that's easier to understand. I mean, the thing about libertarians, we tend to be very academic and very egghead in the way we explain things. It's not as accessible to regular folks. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, we need that academic part, but we also need regular folks. You know, like shout out to Tomas Ture. I like the way he articulates liberty principles in a way that regular people understand. So I think we need more of that in this movement.
All right. So,
Can I respond to that?
yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want to add? You got a minute? Might as well add to that. Yeah.
Okay. No, I completely agree on almost every fundamental level what Jeff said. Outside of the fact that under what context do you think Chase Oliver has charisma? Like what? Like this guy is so milk toast and bland with absolutely no personality whatsoever. I just don't understand why. Look, we can have all the arguments, and we are, and it's fantastic because this is exactly what needs to happen. But we have to be honest with ourselves. Like under no definition does Chase Oliver have a legitimate personality that he's actually willing to expose to the masses as a presidential candidate under the Libertarian Party. If you're going to be that, then be that and own your stuff. I would have more respect for Chase Oliver if he would just come out passionately and defend the fact that he wants to trans the kids and open the borders. Look, I give you the respect, but the fact that he won't and refuses to and just tippy toes around every single situation, I got no respect for the guy. I get, but it's not personal. It's just you're just another politician in my mind.
All right, so let's go on to the next one. We've established that whatever charisma Chase may have is not perceived by Noel, and I think what we should do then move because we're actually doing pretty good timing wise. I think. I mean, we're only at an hour, and I'm already at the sixth question. Actually, wait a minute. No, I got both of you guys on the ideal libertarian candidate, right? Yeah, perfect. Let's go to question 6. Question 6 goes to Jeff then. How do we move forward? And honestly, I think I'm going to add some extra minutes to this because we have time. How do we move forwards as a party after 2024, after the 2024 election? And that implies relevance to the Chase Oliver campaign for president, but obviously so much more. So I'm trying to get a bigger picture, bigger picture question
Really good.
strategically. How do we move forward as a party after 2024?
That's tough.
Wow, that's a good question. I'm
Yeah,
glad that you gave us a
yeah.
little bit of time on.
Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah,
Really
it's kind of
good.
working out that we need time on that one. But it's
Nah,
an
that's a
important,
really good question.
it's an
I'm
important, it's an
struggling here.
important, it's an important question. But you guys, we're all on the same page on one level. But I want to hear you guys articulate what that looks like, especially in light of a for better or worse, a divisive Chase Oliver presidential ticket. And even though I wanted to check this at the door, now would be the time to at least kind of address the elephant in the room of the politics behind the scenes. The kind of, and again, as a preface, I mean, I've been around the Libertarian Party since 1991. And let me tell you, shenanigans have been abundant. This is not new, not new to 2024. Okay, I could tell you stories about Michael Emmerling Cloud from the 90s and people, just the shenanigans behind the scenes. And before my time, it was the Koch brothers. I mean, there's just shenanigan after shenanigan. Everybody trying to be the big fish in the little pond. That's very, very common. There's all sorts of shenanigans and underhanded stuff. But given that that's been revealed in spades, one way or the other, I'm sorry to say this, on both sides of the divide of this internal divide, there's shadiness on both sides. There's sort of questionable strategy on both sides to seize the reins of the power of the Libertarian Party and the intention of being at the top of the ticket. How do we move forward as a party after that in 2024? I mean, this is going to be kind of a wide-ranging set of answers. So I'm looking forward to hearing your answer, Jeff.
Yeah. It's a very important question. I don't think that there will be a lot of daylight between what I say and what Noel says, because I think we're probably on the same page here. I think that really a lot of this infighting has got to stop. You're not going to stop it completely. This is a political party.
Right.
There's going to be shenanigans. There's going to be stuff behind the scenes, and we are going to disagree. I mean, the whole classical liberal Mises Caucus thing. I have agreements and disagreements with both. I mean, I have a lot of disagreements with what National is doing right now. It ain't personal. I don't hate them. I don't hate any of those folks.
Right.
I don't think they're necessarily bad people. I just disagree on the direction that they're taking the party. At the same time, I focus local. I focus on state, so it doesn't matter as much to me. But as far as these issues, I mean, I don't care if you're a left-leaning libertarian or a right-leaning libertarian. Y'all agree on like 95% of stuff. I mean, you guys are way more in agreement than disagreement. That's even more so than I would say even like the Republican Party. They've got way more disagreements and way more splits on at least on policy and ideology and philosophy than libertarians do, whether you are more of the left or more of the right type. We got to figure out how to work together. I mean, I will rock with anybody who's pushing liberty. I don't care if they're more left-leaning. I don't care if they're more right-leaning. I don't care if they're part of the radical caucus or part of the I don't give a crap caucus. I mean, it doesn't matter. Can I find people who want to push for liberty? If so, I will work with that person, even if we have disagreements on other issues. That's the attitude that we all need to be having. There will always be people who want to sow division. Some of those are feds. Some of them are not. Some of them are just assholes.
Oh, yes.
Some of them are just assholes. It's just, that's the way it is. Those people don't need to be getting the microphone. They don't need to be getting all the attention. Who's doing the work? Again, I shout out Mosh Teray. He's doing the work. Got people in Texas, Libertarian Party, Louisiana. People are on the ground doing the work. Those are the people that are going to move things forward eventually. It's not going to be the people shouting loudly on a podcast or on Twitter or on YouTube or what have you. Again, nothing wrong with digital platforms because we're on one right now, but we need to, right now is the time. This is where we really need to be laying the groundwork. One of the things that made me come over to the liberty movement, because one thing I always said, I said, if the Libertarian Party actually, in the liberty movement actually gets their stuff together, starts taking things seriously, I'll easily jump ship. When I saw Decentralized Revolution come out, that's really what pushed me. I was like, okay, these guys understand what we need to be doing. Now, was it executed perfectly? Probably not, but there's still time to correct that. We all need to be focusing local. I mean, I get that we get caught up by Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, RFK, all that. That's the sexy politics. No, we need to make local politics sexy again. That's what we need to get back to. And that's what we need to be doing. So going forward, we need to figure out how to work these differences out. And if you can't work with somebody, then don't work with them. Work with somebody who you can work with, and push local.
That's my quote.
That's
I'm the one that made that viral. Make local politics sexy again. And I did it in real time in another podcast that I was a guest on.
that's
Jeff,
brilliant. You guys are warming my heart because
We have to go back and see who said that first.
that's you
I
guys
don't
are
even
warming
remember
my
what
heart.
podcast it was on. I was on with 10 different people, and they started shooting it out and hashtagging it on Twitter. I'm the one that said that. Make local politics sexy again.
Hey, that's so
Sorry,
true.
go ahead.
No, that's whether it's your turn to add commentary. So Noel, do that because we're at that stage where, first of all, I hadn't heard that expression. I almost feel bad that I hadn't, because that's perfect. And I got to say, this is obviously near and dear to my heart, and this is where I know the three of us in this conversation are absolutely on the same page when it comes to the future of the party. And what's more, what I was hoping to demonstrate, I'll just come out and say this, is that we can have radical disagreements about the efficacy and even the integrity, I guess, of the top of the ticket, and still come out after Guy Fawkes Day, after November 5th, and work towards 2026, towards a better 2026 at the local level, especially. Like, I'm already trying to lay the groundwork for what 2026 is going to look like in the midterm elections, right? And all of the all the local activity we can focus on as much as possible, local grassroots efforts, because that's where we survive. It's not going to be the higher profile campaigns have always only ever been about messaging. Even David Nolan told me personally that's what it's all about. It's about being an instrument for social change. That's the messaging at the national level, but at the local level we can actually implement social change. So I'm getting off the, kind of commenting too much for somebody who's supposed to be a moderator, but I just wanted to get your take on that then as well, Noel, because I think, as Jeff said, there's not going to be a whole lot of daylight between your perspectives, if at all.
Right. What was the question?
Yeah. The question is, how do we, and maybe you can add some more specifics and ideas, how do we move forward as a party after November 5th, 5th of November, 2024?
Right. Okay. You don't. That's it. You don't. The entire movement. Let me say it like this. If you want actual effective movement within the Libertarian Party, then it's not going to come through some federal election.
Right.
It's going to come through the grassroots levels. It's going to be bottom up, where you're talking to people and you're unabashed and unashamed to discuss one of the worst things that we ever tried to institute. Thank you, CIA, in my opinion, was that you should not discuss politics and religion at your family table, at your local barbecue. That's how. It ain't going to come through Chase Oliver. Really? No, who cares, man? This dude's a joke. He will be more irrelevant after November 6th than he is right now. So no, that's not how we're going to solve it. It's going to be through what Jeff was talking about in a very minutiae type of way, in that you talk to your neighbors and your friends and your family, and you tell them that the way we change this, if you want to actually change it via voting, is going to be local. Your local sheriff, your state attorney general, your school board, that's what you need to effectuate change. And it ain't going to come from some goofy presidential election. Now, if you want to talk about what could happen on the federal level, well, then we don't need to even discuss Chase Oliver. We need to discuss Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. But that seems to be lost on most libertarians, because Chase Oliver has no chance of sniffing the White House.
Well, no, but the idea again comes back to the top of the ticket has always been ideally the place where libertarians get to release their message, right? And so it becomes a messaging role ultimately, right? And candidly speaking, I haven't been too happy about the top of our Libertarian Party ticket for a while now, not since 2004,
Right.
to be honest. But the point being is that messenger also has to do a effective job at kind of bolstering up the down ticket, and ideally they're both a good messenger who can bolster up the down ticket where we might actually see some successful moves for liberty. And in fact, I think going forward in 2024, or actually beyond 2024, we're looking at ideally messengers at the national level who literally talk about. And this may sound very self-serving, but I think it's strategic, because I think it's more important than me. But the idea is township liberation becomes a concept that catches on along with our messaging. You guys mentioned that the Operation Decentralized Revolution was a real selling point, and I think it's one of the most inarguable, undebatable positives about the Mises Caucus. Right, that's one thing that I think classical liberal caucus and all the other differing points of view would agree. No, that's a good thing, right? So I think, if I can add my 2 cents, I think that's going to have to factor into whatever happens at the national level going forward. Any sort of national level campaign has to reflect that idea. As we'll say, we'll credit Noel, but maybe it was whoever it was that said make local politics sexy again. That's how you do it. Yeah,
Totally me.
That's totally you. Okay, that's fine. Let's just give you the credit, man. But so the top of the ticket has to reflect that message, right? I think that's actually going to be important for anything we do on a national level, for national level politicians as a political party. Otherwise, why are we bothering? Because to both of your points, there's not much going on. We're not moving the needle nationally, and nor should we really, because effectively, I mean, aside from having the rare dissenting voices in national level politics, like a Thomas Massey or a Rand Paul, there isn't much. Other than providing that dissenting voice, the needle towards liberty isn't really moved there anyway. What we have to do is nullify those guys at the national level, right? And I don't think that's gonna. It's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen at the national level. It has to happen, with our local governing bodies saying no and practicing civil disobedience. So I think that's where the future lies. And after November 6th, regardless of how you feel about Chase Oliver, that's where our shift in focus absolutely has to be stronger than ever, and expecting it of national profile candidates back to the local level, back to making local politics sexy. If it ever was, it's time to start making it that way. So I think that's where we all are. Jeff,
I think it's Jeff's turn to respond.
It is absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yes. So any further comments on this, Jeff?
No, I don't really have much else to add. I mean, I think that, we are on the same page. I would imagine that a lot of people watching this are on that same page as well. We just need to wake more people up to this. I think one of the biggest problems is that our nation, and I don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, our focus is always on the national level. I think that's by design. I think we've been conditioned to do that.
Yes.
Because if we're focused on what's going on way over in Washington, we're not focused on what's going on in our backyards. And I always tell my audience, like, y'all are worried about this deep state in Washington in the swamp. You've got a swamp in your backyard. You've got a deep state right down the street. And you actually have the power to change that. That's where your voice really matters. And I know, Mike, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. I mean, we have to figure out how to wake people up to understand you got to care more about who your mayor is than who the president is. And it's a lot of deprogramming that needs to be done, and we have to figure out how to do it, because I don't really have all the answers for that other than trying to educate people. But the more people we wake up, the better. I mean, the more that we are in areas where we can at least have more people who are more liberty minded. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Donnie and I moved out to rural Louisiana, because we're more likely to be left alone by the government where we are right now. I had a conversation with Dennis Pratt, and he was talking about replicating what they're doing in New Hampshire in other areas of the country, because I recognize that not everybody wants to move to New Hampshire. We got to figure out how to do that, because it's a good idea. I think it can be done. It's a very long-term solution, and I'm going to say that none of this is going to happen overnight, but we need to be laying the groundwork now, because if we don't, it's going to end up being too late. Hopefully, it's not already too late, but we can get started on this now, and we need to figure out how to get people mobilized, passionate, and ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's really spot on, because honestly, all the ideologies and ideological points of view start to sort of melt away as you get more local, right? I mean, because most local races are nonpartisan for a reason, right? Because it doesn't really matter what somebody's ideological background is when you recognize that dystopia is not just in Washington D.C. or your state capital, but it's its effects can be felt right there where you live, and but you can, unlike what happens in your state capital or what happens in D.C., you can affect a change at your local level. That paradigm shift is huge. And Jeff, to your point, I think it is by design. It's like the new bread in circuses. Where national level politics is the new bread in circuses, meant to distract the masses, right? We're somehow
Are you not entertained?
Right. Are you not
Are
entertained?
you
Right.
not entertained?
That's it, though, right? That's what they're doing. So that's huge. I think the idea is we convert this over to a focus, and if I was to pick a priority of how we're going to do a paradigm shift, and what paradigms we want to try to shift in people, that would be at the top of the list. Like, it's more important than trying to get somebody to be less left wing or less right wing or less whatever. It's more important to get their attention off the shiny object that's been distracting them all along. I mean, because with that comes, the cultish nature of your perspective on Donald Trump, for example, which, honest to God, I think Donald Trump has been just as much of a blessing to the political left as to the political right, because it's two sides of the same cultish coin. If we can diminish the attention off of that, not the person even necessarily, but the cultism surrounding that person, whether hated or loved, or deified in some cases, or anti-deified, then we win. That's a huge win in terms of educating the population and educating our neighbors. Yeah.
Can I respond to this comment real quick?
Oh,
Sorry.
absolutely. We got plenty of time.
Because
No, I want to turn over to you. Yeah, please.
So it says at Noel. Stop worrying about Chase if it's local, you're really worried about. Gauging your comments, I actually appreciate everything that you said to the utmost degree as far as what I can see. Because the chat section is wild. We have almost 400 congruent live viewers right now. However, to me, at Noel, stop worrying about Chase. If it's local, you're really worried about. I don't know what your real name is, Woman in the Woods, but that is literally my point. I don't know what contentious comment you were trying to present, or some sort of.
It may not have been, honestly.
Yeah, it may not have been. It's just I don't understand where you're coming from, considering the fact that my entire spiel is that Chase is freaking wholly irrelevant, and under no circumstances, Jeff, should we be abandoning our alliance and our relationship, our friendship, you and I, and Donnie included, which is why I asked you to come on this. The reason I berated you in the comment section to get on here and Donnie before she blocked me was because of a comment like that. Like, what are we doing? Why are we abandoning allianceships and friendships over a political campaign, nonetheless, be it one that's maybe going to get 1% of the vote? No, I didn't ask for this because of a debate over a political campaign. I asked for this because I cannot stand the fact that specifically Donnie and other people have blocked me or us over a political campaign. What are we doing? This,
Let's-
Yeah, one thing-
makes
yeah,
seems not serious.
Let's
Yeah, one-
Jeff,
Yeah, just real quick. I won't go on
Yeah.
long because there's
No,
really
no,
no need to stay on this. But one thing I'll say is that Noel, you do have to own some of that too. I mean, even just in this instance, Woman in the Woods. I saw that comment. I didn't think that she was attacking you. I mean, maybe she's disagreeing
said
with you on
she
your
wasn't.
focus on shape, but but the way you kind of started out was pretty defensive. And you don't always need to be defensive. People, I mean, you've been on Twitter probably as long as I have. People are going to attack things that you say. Nobody attacked you personally. And I think that you take things personally when you shouldn't. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people do
Oh.
attack you personally. Again, we've both been on Twitter a lot, but
Right.
nothing Donnie said was meant as a personal attack against
But she
you.
blocked me.
She
That's personal.
yeah, because
She got
it came
offended
that kind
and
of
she
personal,
blocked
though.
me.
Yeah,
How?
yeah,
Where?
because you
Point
came
to it.
that personal.
Where?
I'd
Wait,
have to,
what did I say?
I'd have to go pull up. Ain't gonna have,
Pull it
ain't
up.
gonna have time to go and
Pull it up.
these now.
no. Let's not. let's
It's
not.
just goofy nonsense. The entire reason I brought y'all on here is because it wasn't personal. That's goofy nonsense. I never attacked your woman, which
No,
is why I tagged you. You asked me, why do you tag me in all this BS? I tag you in it because I'm not going to attack your woman because you're a man and we're men and we're supposed to be friends. And
I'm
I
saying
don't want
maybe,
this. I hate this.
yeah, and maybe you didn't mean for it to come off that way. I'm just telling you how it came off. That's all. That may not have been your intention. I'm just saying that that's kind of how it came off. And if you had come at
So-
me that way, that's kind of how I would have taken it. So I mean, again, I mean,
So you're
I'm not
emotionally
saying that your
perceiving
intentions
things
were
that
bad.
aren't real.
No,
So
no,
you're
no.
emotionally perceiving things that aren't real.
No,
That's
no.
what you're doing. You're emotionally reacting to things that are strictly meant to be just straightforward, mathematical, and black and white. Here's the information. I'm just trying to talk to you. And I said that in all of the responses. And now you're trying to say that it's my fault that y'all perceived a thing that wasn't ever real, in which I explicitly said over and over again, I love y'all. I'm not attacking y'all. I just don't agree here. And I think this is stupid that we're abandoning friendships and allies in Jesus' name when over a political campaign. What are we doing?
I think what we're talking about is perceptions, right? And obviously people misperceive things on the daily. We're going to do that. This is not going to be the first time this happens. And by the way, I think we're going to be able to move on just fine, particularly after November 5th. But I also know that there will always be misperceptions, right? There's always going to be misperceptions. There's always going to be, and it's first. I think we all got to forgive ourselves for being prone to misperceptions. I'm horrible with misperceiving the intentions of somebody communicating with me from time to time. It happens, I think, daily at least, where I completely misread somebody close to me. Like some of our closest people in our lives, we're going to misread something, and it does require clarification, and maybe even it requires blocking and unblocking, and God knows what else we do on this godforsaken platform of social media. But what it does mean is we come back, we try to sort it out, and we do the best we can on a personal level, because we understand misperceptions happen a lot. And what's more is one misperception can lead to all sorts of other assumptions, like, oh, this guy, and I'm not saying anybody said this, I'm not referring to anything specific, but, oh, this guy, Noel, he just wants, to get more clicks. He wants to build his profile and he wants to puff himself up. Or, oh, Jeff's aligning with somebody who has all these really bad character flaws, so therefore he must have those character flaws. Or this Mike lunatic who thinks he's so great because he was been around the Libertarian Party for a million years and hasn't done anything valuable in the whole time. I mean, I get the criticisms. Like, there's so many criticisms which have just enough validity to them that it could be levied against you, and it can be perceived as something even far worse than it is. So it behooves us to just take the step back, go deep in prayer, because I know we all do that, and get past it however we can, and in everybody's timing, in everybody's way, their own way in which they do that. And another way to put that is let the Holy Spirit do his job, right? In a way, right? That's like, let's just, the spirit of reconciliation is greater than the spirit of discord. Let's just, trust the Holy Spirit to do that and get past it in God's perfect timing. But that doesn't mean there isn't going to be disagreements and misperceptions and maybe some blockings and unblockings along the way. This may not be the last time we
In
have
Jesus' name.
disagreement, right? But we can get past it, right? The point is
We have to.
we have to. We don't have a choice. I mean, I'm going to go back to Ben Franklin. This idea that we better hang together or we'll surely hang separately. I don't want to hang separately, man. I want to. I'd rather hang together. So we'll get past it. And the other really important premise that restores the path to reconciliation is that the other party is still acting in good faith, that they're a good faith actor, even though they may have a radically different perspective, and even though they may have expressed their different perspective in a way we found hostile or demeaning, or whatever way we may have perceived it. And that's a huge step forward in that process towards maintaining common ground. Because again, I don't think we've really ever lost common ground in this circle that we have right here. I don't think we really lost common ground, but boy, we maybe had some, exchange some words and some things that caused us to maybe get skeptical of the
Emotional.
get skeptical of the other person's perspective, like whether they were really a good actor or not, or coming from a good place. Right, because I think it's okay, and it's, by the way, it's probably okay every now and again to call that into question if you're having doubts. But let's address the doubts, and let's always remember, and not to preach. I didn't mean to turn into a sermon, but here we are. Let's judge by the fruit,
Nice.
right? I mean, let's judge by the fruit. And I think given any amount of time, you can determine, like, one harvest cycle isn't terribly long if you've got an active garden, and you can pretty much determine the quality of the fruit for too long. Regardless, it'll come out, right? And there's been, you guys, I think it was Jeff, you alluded to the feds disrupting the Libertarian Party. I have no doubt that's the case, right? And I think Noel would agree, right? For sure, right? So but notice that the fruit of that will come out sooner, eventually, right? That's why I'm kind of reserving judgment on, on what's happening at the national level. I'm like, I'm not so sure about this, but I'm going to wait to see what sort of fruit gets born out of this, right? I have certain ideas about, like, okay, there's a difference between doing something and aligning with people from other parties, groups, ideas, and various other types of perspectives, whatever, as the Libertarian Party versus bringing a libertarian voice to a coalition. I think there's maybe some, like, not that I know it any better than anybody else, but I would probably done a few things a little bit differently, where it's not so much party, but Libertarian Party members joining this coalition of a larger group, because we have a valid voice in this larger movement, this larger coalition. But I'm willing to see how this plays out, man. I don't know, but I do know that at least the people in this conversation can agree that our future is local. The future for liberty is local, and that to me is more important than, I mean, you could despise Chase Oliver. You can think Chase Oliver has messianic qualities. None of us really do, but it has like really great, unique, powerful qualities. You can have an entirely different perspective about the top of the ticket in 2024, and still on the other side of that, come out and say, okay, in 2020 and on May 6th, 2024. We're doing something different anyway, regardless. We have to take a different approach, and we need to emphasize local action more than ever before. And that's ideally where I prayed this conversation would lead, and also kind of prove the point that civil discourse is something that we libertarians should be leading the charge on, and we are the freaking adults in the room when it comes to, because I guarantee you, you don't have civil discourse like this within the Democrat or Republican Party. Do you think anybody had any civil discourse with Joe Biden when he was unceremoniously booted off the top of the ticket and just arbitrarily replaced with Kamala Harris? Sorry. Again, we should be the ones that people look to bring civil discourse in discussions like this, because you're not going to get the political class and the dystopians at work in the world do not want civil discourse. They want us at each other's throats. So by engaging in this tonight, we have done a small part of breaking that algorithm of outrage amplification and the ancient tool of the ruling class of divide and conquer. This is a way to break that, right? And I dare say, grace of God, we can keep that going, and we can overcome so much just by being the living demonstration of civil discourse, and bringing that to the table when the ruling class is it's the last thing they want people to be able to do is engage in civil discourse. And here we are. We did it.
Correct.
Amen.
All right, we have just about 15 minutes left before Jeff has a hard stop. What is your last question?
We got to the last question. How do we move forward as a party? That was question number 6. Unless I'm going to double check it here. Nope, that was it. That we went through all 6 of my questions. We did so efficiently because you guys were very cooperative, and I think if we want to offer up, I wasn't planning on final thoughts, but if you guys want to offer them, let's do it. But let's Noel, since you got to start, let's have Jeff offer his final thoughts, and then Noel, let's have you do yours.
I would rather have Jeff have the final thought, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Okay.
All right.
All right.
That's cool.
So in that case, Noel, give us yours.
Under no circumstances am I voting for Chase Oliver
Okay.
and a cop. Like, get real. Like, come on, man. We're not transing the kids. We're not promoting abortion. We're not promoting open borders. And again, I cannot stress enough. I'm not voting for a cop, including Officer Harris. I would rather spend my time at home with my children that I think most people who would vote Democrat or for Chase Oliver don't have. If you don't have kids, then I'm not really interested in what you have to say because you have no future in the country. There is a reason that I am so strongly and adamantly a supporter of the fundamental family, the best and most recognized organization of quote unquote governance known to man, which is the nuclear family. There are many people that will advocate on our behalf that don't have children. But if you don't have kids, you don't understand. Not looking in the inability to look in a life form mirror of yourself, that somebody who's solely dependent on your decision making and your ability to provide for them, it just changes your worldview. And so I'll leave it at that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Jeff, your final thoughts, sir.
Yeah, I'll make it short. I mean, obviously, I am planning to vote for Chase Oliver. I'd much rather support a former cop who wants to end qualified immunity over a prosecutor who used to lock people up just for having a plant, and supporting somebody who may not have been a cop but wants to give them extra immunity. So to me, it's more of a vote of principle. I'm done supporting the uniparty. And it's non-negotiable for me. Like, I'm not going to vote for a Republican or a Democrat, especially not at the national level. I think Chase has done a good job with what he's had of articulating libertarian principles. I think he's done a good job of propping up local candidates and state level candidates. But again, the big area of agreement in this conversation was that at the end of the day, if we're not focusing on local, all that other stuff doesn't really matter. I mean, the stuff that is really going to push liberty forward is focusing on local communities, waking people up to the importance of that, and moving forward and getting people in office who will push back on state and federal governments who want to infringe on our rights. This is like the only hope that we have. I can't even guarantee that it's going to work 100%, but We're not going to get out of this by focusing on the White House or on the United States Capitol building. Not saying that we should ignore it. We should still pay attention to what's going on there. We should still be focused on it. But even more so, we should understand what our mayor's doing, what our city council, sheriff, judges, all of that, dog catcher. I don't care. Dog catcher too. Like, this is what we need to be focusing on. So I would encourage every single person watching this right now is to start learning. If you don't already know, start learning who your local government officials are. Start reading up on your local news. Find out what your local government is doing. Figure out how to get involved. If you're a liberty-minded person, support a libertarian candidate for your local offices. If you don't have one, then become one. Run yourself. Manage a campaign.
That's right.
There's an endless list of things that you can do. We all have different gifts that God has given us. We all have different lanes that we are in. We all have different abilities that our creator has endowed us with, and we need to use those to further the cause of freedom and to further liberty. Maybe you don't run for office, but maybe you do something else. Maybe you have a platform like us three. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're good at administration. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved. Figure out where you fit in and get in where you fit in at that local level and even your state level as well. Because if we don't have enough people who are doing this, we're going to lose, and we're going to live in an America that we don't want any part of. And that's kind of what's scary to me right now, especially in the times that we're living in right now. We need to be digging in. Noel said at the beginning, I mean, we need to be stocking up on ammo. We need to make sure we can purify our water. But that's why Donnie and I have chickens. That's one of the reasons why we moved out here. We have to be self-sufficient because there's some stuff coming down the pike. And Mike, you know what I'm talking about because you were just dealing with what's going on in the United Kingdom with them trying to register chickens.
Yeah,
All of that
criminalizing
stuff is
chickens.
coming here. All of
Yeah.
that stuff is coming here, and a lot of it is already here. We just don't know about it because we're so focused
Correct.
on whatever stupid crap Trump says and Kamala cackling her way through interviews. So let's focus on what we need to do with what is around us, because that's what we have the most control over.
100%. I love where this went tonight. So this is good stuff, man. I think we did it. I think we did all right here, gentlemen.
No, it's great. I think he nailed that last part, and that's literally as I text you guys, the three of us personally in the chat, saying, I don't understand what we're doing here by isolating each other's friendship and corroboration of what we could do together.
Good stuff, guys. All right. I think. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think we hashed this out pretty good. I think we are in a position now where we can safely say goodnight to everybody. And I know a lot of my friends in the UK were interested in how this was going to go, and they're probably going to watch it tomorrow morning or some point tomorrow. So
They're probably watching right now. I'm looking at over 100,
well,
over 400 congruent
Stephen,
viewers.
Stephen McNamara might, because he doesn't sleep. But yes, that guy. But they're talking, just so you guys know, kind of some of the fun stuff that they're coming up with, because I think they're going to laugh their way out of a dystopia out there, because they're actually doing what Stephen McNamara calls malicious compliance, which is, for example, he just registered a chicken that he bought from the store and a turkey that he's had in the freezer for a while. He just registered about six chickens that landed in his yard, six pigeons that landed in his yard. I mean, they're practicing this. One person, right? One person online I was reading, they registered all the hummingbirds that went into their hummingbird feeder over the course of the day. I mean, brilliant, right? I mean, they're going to laugh their way out of this. And I think at one point I commented that the Metro Police are something like a cross between George Orwell and Benny Hill. The British police departments that are trying to enforce this nonsense. So you kind of have to be Benny Hill to try to enforce this kind of insanity. So I'm hopeful for those guys too. And by the way, this local movement thing is a local action isn't confined to the United States. I mean, any common law country has a similar powers of nullification enshrined in common law, and it can be used everywhere, right? It can be used any place that has that common law tradition. So the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all the Commonwealth countries. Like, I mean, it's probably more difficult to pull off in West Africa, but those are Commonwealth countries, Nigeria, and Cameroon and so forth. But there's opportunity at the grassroots level, not just nationally but internationally, and I think that's also where I see the future for us. I see this as a coordination of local efforts across the world, almost embodying the old school left wing catchphrase of think globally, act locally. I think libertarians are actually going to creep in on that motto. I mean, heck, we kind of stole the word libertarian anyway from left wingers, right? So I think we might as well steal that motto too. I think that should be that should be our thing. Think globally, act locally, and help each other locally, because God knows the dystopians are acting against the principles of liberty and liberty-minded people across the world. So too should liberty-minded people be acting against the dystopians across the world together.
Right. So full transparency here. I did not ask Jeff, and I berated Jeff in his comment section, and Donnie, his wife, or soon to be wife, hopefully. I didn't do this for a debate over freaking Chase Oliver. What do we do? Are you kidding me? No, I care about the fact that we have a big freaking fish to fry, and decentralization is the key. And we can't be focused on some sort of insignificant presidential campaign, right? Like, what are we doing? So I'm berating that point as well. I'm belaboring something that I've expressed over and over again throughout this show and through multiple tweets. Like, we can't do this. We have way bigger fish to fry than Chase Oliver.
I think we're there, gentlemen. What do you say we wrap this up? Say good night to all the folks tuning in, and call it an evening.
I'm good. Let's go fry that fish.
Let's do some fish fry. Sounds
That's
good.
right. You guys are awesome. Jeff, you got anything to plug?
Yeah. You can check out my writing at redstate.com. Check out my podcast. It's called A Fresh Perspective. Check out my Substack. It's called Chasing Liberty. You can get that at libertychasers.com. Check out all my content.
Mike?
You gotta just check me out. It's at Two Free Mike on X and at Town Liberation. That's also the X page for the organization and movement that I hope to inspire, like I was alluding to earlier, across the world, of local governing bodies nullifying the dystopian oppressive governance of larger governing bodies. That's in essence what township liberation means. And let's hope it catches on, because I think that's, as we talked about quite a bit, I think that's the future of liberty.
Y'all are both just so incredible. I can't commend you enough. You're both incredibly intelligent and well-spoken and knowledgeable. Thank y'all so much for joining and having this conversation. Thank you.
Everyone have a good evening.
Thank you.